Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. This week we have a special guest. Liz, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz, Joe's wife. I feel very privileged to be on here.
It's a pleasure to have you on. You've been a long time listener to us and the boys, and I think it was about time that we got your perspective on all things beer. Now, before we kind of jump in, talk to us a bit about your, do you like beer? Are you a fan of beer?
It wouldn't be my drink of choice if I was going into a pub. I'm much more of a sort of wine or hard liquor kind of gal. But I do like a bit of shandy. I've got very fond memories of going to the pub with my dad when I was younger and having a bit of shandy with lemonade, and it's lovely.
Well, I think to over-reinforce those beer credentials, I think you've got a hot topic for us, haven't you?
I have got a hot topic. I saw this the other day and I sent it to Joe straight away going, oh my gosh, look at this. Guinness have just launched their first cold brew coffee beer. And I just thought it sort of made complete sense, but I was like, why?
I don't know. It kind of makes sense, like in some respects, because I guess you think Guinness, you think it could kind of be a bit of a malty, like a kind of,
it's got like coffee taste.
Coffee. But a coffee beer, I don't know about that.
That's what, and I've been reading up about it, and I can't work out whether they're sort of calling it a coffee beer, but apparently, according to Diageo's website, it's got the same amount of caffeine in it as a decaf coffee, which I am a big fan of. But they're also calling it this sort of coffee beer. So the way they make it apparently is steeping the coffee beans in cold water rather than boiling. They do that for a really long period of time, and then they add that to Guinness draft. And then it says they also add other roasted barley flavours. So obviously when you have a Guinness, it's got that sort of coffee-esque, like very rich, the darkness, the kind of thick liquid, I suppose, if you see what I mean. So I can see why they did it, but I can't, like, if you're sitting in the innovation room in Guinness, who's going to have come up with that, and what are they trying to solve for? I
don't know. It seems like they're targeting different people to your usual Guinness drinkers, right?
Yeah,
It sounds like something maybe that, you can, I don't know, if you're not really into beer. I mean, hey, maybe you're the target audience. You're not that into, you're kind of open to beer. You like the taste of coffee, especially decaf coffee. Maybe this is one for you, Liz. I mean, because you're partial to a Guinness.
Oh, I do love a Guinness.
You do like a Guinness.
Mum always said to me it's good for your iron.
There you go.
Levels. Have a Guinness. As a vegetarian, you should have a Guinness just to keep your iron levels up. So anyway, I just thought it was cool. I'm yet to try it, but I certainly want to.
I wonder where, like, the occasion for drinking it, because it does have alcohol in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it does have alcohol in it.
It's not like you can just pick this up, rock this up at, 8 o'clock in the morning on your train on the way into work.
Yeah, like, are you going to sit on the tube in London?
Crack open a Guinness
open a Guinness cold brew on your way to the office? I just don't think you are. And then at the end of the day, well, it's decaf, I suppose. You could have it at the end of the day, but what's the point? Just have an espresso martini.
Well, yeah. I mean, although, price point wise, we don't know what cost this might be. I mean,
they're selling it in Tesco, in a 4-pack.
There you go. So, well, it'll be way less than
accessible.
It'll be way less than a coffee espresso martini.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, I mean, maybe this is the more, kind of, what's the right word where you kind of, it's more available, like espresso martini for the masses. You know? Go get your coffee, Guinness cold brew on the go.
Yeah.
Because if I'm honest, I was quite intrigued by this as a coffee cold brew, more so for actually the coffee element to it, of actually it had some stimulant in that way. But if it's more about the decaf and just the beer, I mean, I'm definitely going to try it. I mean, does it say what the ABV is in the article you've got there?
No. So they worked with this lady called Celeste Wong, who is a coffee aficionado. She is an ex-barista. She just seems like the lady to talk to about coffee. And she was talking about how the food and beverage industry is obviously constantly experimenting with new things. And we've seen a lot of innovation in coffee over recent years with nitro cold brew and all of that sort of stuff. With this Guinness offering, it is completely unique, according to her. And it does take the coffee drink into more drinking occasions. So, yeah, we'll see. I'll be curious to see where it goes. Oh, they're actually talking on this article. They're talking about the espresso martini, and they're sort of putting this Guinness cold brew coffee beer in the same category.
Well, that's what we say. It's the espresso martini for the masses.
Yeah,
go grab yours at Tesco's. It's interesting. Obviously, it makes sense for a drinking occasion. The outside of the usual beer world. But it's not really like Guinness to really venture too far out of, they make beer. That's what they do. Obviously they've got a huge merchandise, kind of arm of their business and, kind of and sponsorship of, but it's all about promoting the Guinness brand. So, I mean, hey, maybe we'll see more and more of these kind of like brewers branching out outside of, the usual beer. I mean, we've seen breweries branch out into spirits, like Brewdog have their own, kind of like, I mean, they're not the first. Adnams do their own spirits and gins and vodka. It's becoming quite the thing. I mean, the boys and I were talking to Keith McAvoy of Seven Brothers, and he was saying how, the four sisters, they were their sisters' distillery, and there might be a collaboration / kind of merger of the businesses in the future. So, it's becoming more and more apparent that these breweries aren't just sticking to beer. They're looking outside of beer. Drinking occasions are one thing, but maybe like a hard seltzer instead of a your regular beer, but to go into something completely different. Maybe we get foodstuffs coming out of these breweries as well.
Gosh, you never know. It launched in the US last year, it says, so I'd be really interested to see how well it went down in the States.
Well, it must be doing pretty well if they're deciding to launch it
bring
into
it
the
to
UK.
here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you can check it out apparently in London and Bristol, so knock yourself out.
Yeah, well, try it.
Get down to Tesco.
Get down to Tesco to get some cold brew on. Right, so for the pursuit of hoppiness today, we've got a bit of a special. I do something a bit different. Usually we take, you've heard these before. We'll do a brewery and we'll focus in on them and we'll talk about their specific beers. However, this time round, I thought given our, news that's happening in our world right now, which is
that I'm having a baby.
Exciting. So I thought given that we're, having a baby and that you are on the alcohol-free train.
Ugh, yes.
How's that been going, by the way?
Well, to my earlier point about not being necessarily the biggest beer fan other than sort of within a specific occasion, I've concluded that non-alcoholic wine is dire. So is non-alcoholic bubbles. It basically tastes like Schlur. And for those listeners who are not in the UK, Schlur is basically like a fizzy sort of apple juice that you sort of associate with women of a certain age at a dinner party.
We'd always have it at, like when we go to grandma and grandpa's and
there you go. It like comes out and that was like as an alternative at Sunday lunch.
Yeah, exactly. It was a real special treat to have some Schlur.
So what I'm really missing is a Negroni. Right. Or an old fashioned or something like that. Like that you just can't replicate. The non-alcoholic gins, I mean, they're nice, but there's nothing quite like the real thing. So I've found myself in recent months turning to beer a bit more because A, it's lower ABV than what I normally drink. So obviously there's a lot of conflicting opinions about drinking in pregnancy. The general rule is don't do it at all, but every now and again you just want a sip of something. Yeah. So beer has been sort of what I've had a sip of when Joe's had one. Yeah.
I was going to say it's more because I've bought the supply of
It's been there.
If I was sipping on Negroni,
I'll have that.
If I was sipping on Negronis, you probably would.
I'd have a sip of that as well. Yeah. So I've definitely turned towards non-alcoholic beer in recent months because to me it's just the best alternative. They can take the alcohol out without compromising the flavour or the texture or necessarily having to chock it full of sugar. So I like a Corona and they do a really nice 0% one of those, but Joe's very kindly found a selection for us to have a crack at today, and given I'm pregnant, no holes barred, you will get my honest opinion.
Well, exactly. I thought you'd be a good test subject for these, because we've obviously been dancing around alcohol-free for a long time on the pod, and we're a big fan of quite a few of the alcohol-frees that you have out there. We've covered quite a few atrocious ones as well. So I've got some new ones for us to give a go. We've got the Budweiser Zero.
Okay.
Which is kind of dubbed their prohibition beer.
Oh, great fun.
Because they've kind of played on this whole, like, non-alcohol in the States, kind of, provenance about their, history. And then, so obviously it's a non-alcoholic version. We have the Smashed Brewing Craft AF, their lager, which I haven't come across Smashed, but they've just started popping up in supermarkets here in the UK. And then we have, I'm already a big fan of the brewery, a Big Drop Brewing Co. But we have their Paradiso Citra IPA also
I'm
to
excited to try this one in particular because I do like Citra in beer. So yeah, let's have a go.
Like the Citra hops well. Let's crack them on, and we'll just kind of sip through and we can give some opinions on.
That noise as well, just so great. Doesn't make you feel like you're being left out. Oh gosh. Just spilt it all over the table. That's an excellent start, isn't it?
Hey, it's all part of fun and games, part of the beers. Right, so we've got obviously.
Can you get a mop?
Yeah.
We'll edit this bit out. It's all over our table, you see. Can't be having that.
Someone just stop for cleaning. You can tell you're on with your wife.
Yeah. The dog's got involved as well now.
Very interesting what's happening.
Okay.
Right, so
which one should we start with?
2 lagers and an IPA. So maybe best if we kind of first have a sip. Drink them as your leisure and just to tell us what you think about it. I mean, I'll pose a question of what do you think of Budweiser, and Budweiser's beers. What do you think of when you think of the brand and the brewery?
When I think of the brand, I think of a jock in America.
Okay.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I am probably...
For those listeners not aware of what a jock might be, can you describe what a jock is?
An American sports player.
Okay.
They tend to congregate in groups in bars, drinking Bud Light.
Okay.
So I think of Budweiser alongside a jock.
Well, I think you're absolutely right.
Smells nice.
In that Bud Light has tried to own the sports category in both the US.
They've done a good job.
And they've tried to do it here in the UK, but, we've got Carling, so they can't own football. Rugby is, we've got too many other beers that are about that space. But I think the Budweiser, the core brand, I mean, it is this kind of international. Obviously, it's AB and Bev. It's the biggest brewery in the world. It's sold all over the planet. But they try and really leverage this kind of global appeal. That's what this whole redesign by JKR is all about. But I'm interested actually in how they've translated their, the Budweiser core product. This isn't the Bud Light. This is their core product, but the zero version into this zero alcohol.
I've never had the core product that you're saying. I haven't had a Budweiser, so I'm not comparing. I can't compare apples to apples. Okay. But just drinking that, there's something missing in the flavour to me. There's it's not very deep in terms of flavour. It's very just like you're having something fizzy. It's kind of beerish.
Yeah.
But it's a bit boring, to be honest.
If I'm honest, I think this is the trick of... This is the trap, of non-alcoholic beers, is that especially when it's trying to replicate an already existing, as I call, full-fat product.
Do they do a good job of replicating? You'll have obviously had a Budweiser before.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously there's mixed opinion about Budweiser in general. I quite like, on occasion, the Budweiser core product. That is an okay replica of their one. It still is vacuous, because it's an alcohol-free version.
Yeah.
But it does the taste justice. It does taste like a Budweiser. And actually, if you're coming out with a new product and it still tastes like your own products, I think the brewery that I think of when I think of a brewery that can really replicate their taste, it's from them no matter what beer they're making, and that's Adnams. In Southwold.
Yeah.
I think no matter what they make, it tastes like an Adnams.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. And I think Budweiser, obviously on a much larger scale, have been able to do that here with their alcohol-free. I don't mind. It's not the worst alcohol-free lager. I feel that, in my opinion, there's been a lot of successful alcohol-free lagers.
It's a competitive category, isn't it?
I think there are more successful alcohol-free lagers than there are, alcohol-free of any other, like kind of type of beer. So we've got an IPA to try. I'm intrigued because...
Is that this one, the big
Citra
drop one?
Yeah.
When I spilt this one all over the table, I just mopped some of it up, and I really enjoyed it at the time. Let's have a go and see. The thing to note, the Budweiser is 0.0%. This is 0.5.
Yeah.
So there is a tiny little bit in
They
there.
have to. They have to legally
say. Leave it. Okay.
They have to legally say 0.5% unless they have never had any alcohol in it.
Oh, so this is a different way. The alcohol's been in and they've extracted it away rather than it's never been
They won't be so
way.
overt to let us know that, but I think that's basically the whole thing. I mean, even if it's called a 0, it still might be. I'm going to look at the ABV. Oh, it is a 0.0%.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making a big deal. I will go back to the Budweiser here. Very key information. Budweiser, 0. And then they're saying 0.0% alcohol volume. 46 calories and no grams of sugar. That's a big change. That's more soft drink kind of styling of design, isn't it?
I like the design of the can, I must say. It's white. Most of it is in silver. They've got 0 in red. It's quite a slick design. I like it. And I'm a history nut, and the top bit looks quite heritagey to me, so I like it. But no, going back to Big Drop, the flavour of this is really nice. To me, it's got a strong depth of flavour. It just, it's yummy. It's got, let's have a look. Oh, it's gluten-free, this one. So we have a couple of gluten-free friends who'll be very excited to get their chops around this one. 61 calories. And it's 2/3 along their tropical paradise scale. I like it. Joe, have a crack at that one.
Oh, no, I've had this one quite a few times before. I mean, I am a big fan of the Citra IPA, the Paradiso. I've actually picked this up at the pub because you can get it on tap at quite a few pubs now.
That's nice.
Which is great. So just to actually find a good tasting alternative to as a non-alcoholic. What is also great about Big Drop is all of their beers are non-alcoholic, so they don't make anything else.
Oh wow, okay.
And they're growing from strength to strength. I mean, this beer itself has won the world's best style award from the World Beer Awards. So they're a style winner. So they have won beer awards for this beer itself. And this is one of many beers. I mean, actually, I think 2 years ago, the big news was that they won their stout, the Galaxy Milk Stout, won the best stout in the world from the World Beer Awards.
Even though it was non-alc.
Even though it was a non-alc, and I have had that, and it's really good. It's delicious.
I wonder if that speaks to, like, they're so good and so tasty because they're not trying to do too many things. Like, they focused on non-alc beer and they're just making it absolutely delicious.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, it's delicious. It is a tasty beer.
Yeah.
First and foremost. I mean, I get that with this IPA. They've really played on that kind of like the sweetness, I guess. But it's not too sweet. We're not talking, kind of tiny rebel level of sweetness, but you can definitely get something slightly different. I mean, they've got other things here on their portfolio. They've got a Pine Trail Pale Ale that's also been a craft, a World Beer Award winner. Uptime Craft Lager.
That one's vegan. Uptime Craft Lager, well as being gluten free.
Yeah. And then you got their Galaxy Milk Stout. So there's plenty of other seasonal stuff. So they're pumping out quite a lot of different beers here. Which I'm really interested in. And we did go and meet them at the London Craft Beer Festival, and we're very impressed with their the people that they had selling the beers as well, like very knowledgeable about the beer and what they do, which you'd expect being a face of the beer. So the last one we haven't tried yet. Is the Smashed. What do you think?
Well, I like the feel of the bottle.
Yeah.
The first thing. This is a red can, and it's got that, Joe will know, working in packaging. What's that bit called? The texture.
It's the kind of the textural feeling.
Texture, yeah, it feels really nice.
Basically, it's a printed label on a can rather than like a printed directly onto the can itself, the material.
Doesn't smell great.
No.
I'm sure it'll get better.
What is it? Is that a 0.0 or a 0.5?
0.0 this
0.0.
one.
0.0. So this is definitely to be compared with the Bud's Zero.
Or no.
No, not a fan of that one. What is it? What is it about it that doesn't do it for you?
I don't know. I'm trying to be polite. I feel like I've...
The listeners want to know what you know, what you feel, and what you're thinking about this.
It feels like I've swallowed a pond. I'm going to have it again just to give it the best.
Okay.
There's some flavour in there that I'm just not sure what... Oh, it's just like having a pond.
The smell's probably put you off.
The smell, yeah. I don't know. But when you taste it, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't come across Smash before. They do a couple of different beers.
This tastes like the sort of thing Drabbers would like.
You hearing that, Drabs? What's that saying about Drabbers is palateless? What have you got to say about it?
It's very... it sort of knows what it is. It's very strong. It shows up. It's unapologetic. Okay. I feel like he loves those sorts of beers.
Well, I mean, it's Smashed, isn't it? I guess it's kind of trying to be like more, kind of uncut, raw. Is that what they're kind of going for?
I don't know what they're going for. This one is not. I wouldn't call it for me. Like if I had it in a pub, I'd be like, I would have 2 sips of it and give it to you, and then ask for a big drop.
Try it against the Bud Zero, because obviously that's the one that's the closest in kind of like style, I suppose, because it's also a non-alcoholic lager.
I prefer the Bud Zero is an inoffensive, easy to drink,
clean almost.
It's that's a liquid, whereas this has got a proper distinct flavour to it that I think you either like or you dislike. Perhaps I'm being unfair because I don't drink beer that often.
Well, I think you're right. I think the Budweiser is what you'd expect from AB and Bev.
Yeah, so it's a session. Is that the term you use?
Yeah, a session.
As in you could have like 5 of these.
I'm not actually displeased with this Smashed Brewing AF. I think
I think it's a me opinion rather than it's probably
no.
Not
I think it's good. I think that's the whole point of it, of how you pick these up. The Budweiser is clearly there for everyone, or trying to be there for everyone. But in some respects, maybe that's why it loses some flavour, and that's why it doesn't really, because it doesn't have an opinion. It's kind of middle of the road. It's a bit bland. That's why people won't pick it up. I think the Smashed as an offering something new to the alcohol-free market, because I feel like a lot of brands have tried to go down the Budweiser route and be like an inoffensive, almost apologetic beer in the alcohol-free market. And I think this Smashed one is actually trying to do something different. But, hand on heart, I think the Big Drop, they've completely smashed it out of the park. Yeah. Because they're not, they're just great beers. And the fact that they're alcohol-free is just kind of an afterthought. Whereas I feel like the Smashed is really trying to be an alcohol-free, give it a bit of punch, give it a bit of welly, but it's also, isn't going to be tasty for everyone as well.
No, definitely the one for me is Big Drop. That's the one I keep reaching for.
All right. Well, I guess we've had the whole opinion.
That's my opinion on the matter.
That's it. Done. So no to Smashed from your side. Okay with the Budweiser, but Big Drop overall.
Yeah, Big Drop. I'd love to try some of their other flavours.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can. They've got a subscription, I think, an on-alc subscription.
Can have a look at that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Or there's a selection of our best sellers here, so you could do that.
Oh, perfect.
Maybe
there
you have to get your any new friends from the what's it called, NQT? No, not NQT.
NCT.
Maybe you get some new friends from the NCT
which is
classes.
The National Childbirth Trust. For those who don't know.
So yeah, maybe we can have an alcohol-free beer party for your new mum friends. Although you'll probably want Negronis.
Yeah, by that point, everyone's just going to be desperate for an old-fashioned. No, it's very nice. I would probably have it. I'd have it when I had a small child as well, so you don't get a hangover. Like, it's great, but this is coming from somebody who's just desperate to have some form of gimlet, so not necessarily the best person to ask, but yeah, Big Drop wins to me. Thank you for having me, everyone.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barbara, and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, I'll Try That Podcast.com, and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.